We invite you to listen and grow to this Power Business and Lifestyle magazine show with hosts Paul and Deb Rees, experts in business, leadership and lifestyle. Skilling yourself to a successful you. Emotions are your value, and your value is your business. UK Health Radio.
Oh yes, we are up and running, and we are in for another show. Welcome, listeners, and of course, you are back. You are back. You've given me your listening ear. You've given me your time. You've given me your space. You've given me your environment, and you've given me your ecosystem. You've given me your spirit. Can I say that? You bet your life I can. You've given me everything for this next 52 minutes, and that's why I'm here. That's why I love you, and that's what makes this whole event so special. It really does. You know, it's been a real cool week for me. So much is going on. Today has been a bit of a frantic day. You know, when you have those days, you think, oh man, I've got such a big event tomorrow. So tomorrow I'm traveling. I have about 10 hours of traveling, listeners. And the result is going to be, I am filming tomorrow 3 documentaries with a real full-on amazing chap that I cannot reveal yet. But I will be doing in the next couple of weeks once he has done his filming with some special people I can't mention. Yes, all a bit secret. It's like, actually, Paul, why say it when you can only half say it? Do you know what I mean? It's not fair on your listeners, is it? It's not fair. It's like, Paul, don't give us half a story. I hate I don't get on with half a story. And I really don't. But here's the thing. It has been an amazing day. It's been full on. Finally, my bank account has got something building in it. I've been flatlined for the last 2 weeks. Here's the thing. WorldPay kept my money. They said, Paul, you didn't sign your due diligence forms. I can hardly say the word, listeners. Due diligence? Really? Is that the way you didn't sign your forms? So guess what? All your clients have paid for the last month. We're keeping your money until you do so. So I spent about the last 6 hours of my last 2 days getting everything sorted with WorldPay so they can release the money into my business account, and people can stop phoning me saying, guess what? Your bills have bounced. Of course they bounced. My money's in WorldPay. Come on, guys. You know what I mean? These things happen. Well, and then almost listeners, I felt like I was like a crook. It's like people phoning, where's the coming? I'm paid and things like, wait. These things happen, man. Bear with me. I'm on my way. So I've had one of those kind of stressy kind of financial couple of days that have kind of undone itself. But here's the thing. Until the money hits my bank account, I'm holding on to my cash. It's not going in there. I got a bit of cash in my wallet, listeners, and it's staying in my wallet. Happy days, man. Do you know this old plastic thing of paying by phone, paying by plastic? Trust me, when it gets out of control, you're lost. You really are. And my mobile phone bill I haven't paid this month because it bounced. I'm like, oh, that's a big one. That's a big one, but all coming together now. And what I'll say, listeners, is when you have these times, you know, you really want to look in on yourself, and it makes you find your worth. It's like, where am I living spiritually? Do you know what I mean? It's like, why have I become this human doing instead of that human being? When did that happen? When did I become totally reliant on, you know, the plasticness of money? I said that, didn't I? The plasticness of money. I mean, it's just crazy. You know, at the end of the day, I'm going to say the happiest of people are those that are without money. The happiest people are those that are just in tune with themselves, get this spirituality. You know, I've interviewed so many people that have more money than we can imagine, but yet their greatest insights, their greatest enlightening moments are when they found themselves in a place of nowhere. And what I mean is there was no digital technology around. Only them, life, and their soul, their spirituality, their self. And they told me, Paul, I felt more rich at that given point than I did at any time looking at my bank account numbers. And that's the thing. We forget. We are spiritually rich. We are spiritually rich within ourselves. And that has more value than any currency you will, through your bank account, through your business, or anything else in life, has more value than any of that currency. And you know what? Send me your emails. Tell me that you don't feel it's the same. Tell me that you're addicted to the coin. You're addicted to the money chase, But you know what's going to happen at some given point? Your soul, your spirituality, your spirit self is going to say, do you know what? We can't keep doing this. And it's time that you looked in instead of keep living out. It's time you looked in instead of keep living out. And we have a guest with us today that is top of this philosophy. I just said that tonight. Top of this philosophy. This lady understands the wisdom of pain. This lady understands the wisdom of life, the wisdom of communication on all levels. Communication that doesn't come from the mouth, that comes from the heart, the mind, and the universe. Spirituality. This lady is top of her game when it comes to the metaphysical education. Everybody goes through it. I want to bring her in because this is the show today. We're in between the realms today, people. We are bringing in ectoplasm. We are bringing everything in that reconnects us to who we are. Yes, let's bring this beautiful lady in, and I'm going to get it in. It's Dr. Anneli Driessen. I'm going to say Driessen, absolutely. Anneli, I'm sure I had that wrong, my love, but thank you so much for coming on the show today.
Oh, that's great. I didn't know you were so entertaining. And I never had an introduction like this either. And, top of her game. Oh, my goodness. I feel sometimes I am, but at other times I feel I'm really at the very basic steps of the universal knowledge that is available. And much of it that may not be available to us until after our transition. So, but thank you for saying that. Your energy, your aliveness is really quite infectious.
Well, Anneli, we've spent many times networking together on a very professional, profound platform called the ECI and things. And, I met you there. And of course, it's a very different platform. This is me. This is myself. This is the only time of the week I can be the true Paul Rees without any what is judgment whatsoever. My listeners there, they love Paul for Paul, not for Paul, the business coach, the extreme niche in person. No, we're not there. But here's what I'd like to just start with. The word metaphysical. Mm-hmm. I want to start with the word metaphysical because that, for many people, is a word that they will never understand. They will never appreciate and never get in touch with. Let's talk about the meaning of what metaphysical is, because here's where we are. It's pushing its way into the professional world.
Yeah, well, thank you. But let me first share with you a very funny quote. You probably have heard, or most of your listeners have heard about Voltaire. Voltaire was a French philosopher, and he got into a lot of trouble. To my knowledge, he got in jail a few times because he rubbed the wrong things, and he challenged the status quo in society. And he once said, I'm just going to read it off to you, but make sure it's correct. He said, when two philosophers are having a discussion and don't understand one another, it's called metaphysics.
Oh, wow.
And if they don't understand themselves and what they're talking about, it's called higher metaphysics. So I thought I start with that because it is kind of funny. But what it does say, though, is that it is a very large word for a lot of different things. So here's the definition that I came up with, and it says a little bit, but still doesn't even scratch the surface. So I'm sharing it with you. So for me, metaphysics is the study of mind and unexplainable phenomena that are mostly not visible to the human eye. However, they cover a wide range of things, such as laws and universal laws and principles, consciousness, intelligence, mysticism, spirituality, and the purpose of all life here and inside the cosmos. Wow. So this is so big, to even scratch the surface of this enormous range of possibilities of knowledge and study is something that we probably only can handle as humans.
Wow.
And there are many different people who, access one aspect. I realize that with all the studies that I have done, especially in the last 28 years, over 28 years now, I still feel, God, there is so much that I don't know. And yet I have made it my life purpose to share what I have been able to acquire. And I'm very, very, very grateful for that privilege to share with whoever wants it. Because as you well know, the metaphysical industry or spiritual industry, which I sometimes refer to as spiritainment, is huge.
Yeah,
and it's growing. It's growing crazy. And everyone who bought, a Kindle or a book, or I'm very facetious now, or has done a weekend class or something on spirituality, called themselves often a metaphysician or being highly spiritual. But spirituality is a much, much bigger assignment and much bigger deal. It goes together with knowledge and with experience and with application of knowledge. So it's not good to sit and read all this stuff and read all the books and do all the exercises that are done and all the classes about experiential type of activities. It's really about how we apply the knowledge in everyday life, and it's about how decent we are as people, how honest we are, how real we are. Do we really care about what's going on, not just globally in the big world, which is so easy to talk about? We're going to go to all these initiatives. How about your neighbor? How about your animals? How about your spouse? How about your kids? This is important. What about your immediate environment? How about your relationship with yourself? How do you honor yourself with your own integrity and with your own truth about yourself? These are the kind of things that lead to higher consciousness, not vibrating in light and meditating and doing all that. Not doesn't do us any harm, but it may lead us away from the practical aspect of being the best human we can be.
Could we say, Anneli, that metaphysics then is really about you seeing not just the spiritual value of you, but the essence value, the essence of you, that energy of you that's created the physical you? Do we feel that, because here's the thing, when we think about when we think about the word metaphysical or metaphysics, I'm going to put them both together. I may be wrong in this, and please excuse my naivety, even though I spent 12 years in the spiritual community as a professional mental medium.
Oh, okay.
And I traveled all over Canada, all over America, lots of Europe. In that, I'm going to say that pantomime world that comes with mental mediumship. You talk about, spiritainment. You're right. I'm an ordained minister in Canada. I became a minister in Canada myself and my wife. I have this.
I'm an ordained minister too. Metaphysical minister. Wow.
I have a history, and I was excited to share this with you on the show, because you don't know these things about me. So I have that history. I have not experienced or will ever experience in my lifetime the philosophies that you have written, and we're going to talk about those thousands and trillions of pages. But I do appreciate also there is a huge exaggeration, within, we could say, spirituality, and and this, I'm saying this because so many humans have become reliant on what they consider spirit leading them, spirit helping them, spirit becoming their decision makers, spirit becoming, leading their way. And they avoid being proactive as a human being, and almost we're going to say pause that biological part of them, and then say, well, yes, I love myself spiritually. I love where I am spiritually, which we could say is okay to say, but it's easy to say that when and suddenly you're leaving your biological self-worth behind. I've experienced these things. I've experienced a huge exaggeration, in the spiritual community and what people claim they've experienced, claim they see, and I'm an evidential person. That's why I was a mental medium. Evidence is very important for me. I have 2 girls, 2 daughters. My wife was also a professional medium. So it's important that we were serious and we were considered serious about, what we did. But I think that, metaphysical, the philosophies that come with that, which is where you are pinheaded in your amazingness, is a very different world from what is considered entertainment, what is considered exaggeration within spirituality, or we could say the spiritual religion. There are two curtains here, two different, that kind of get mashed into one, do you think?
Well, let me just make a comment on what you said earlier, if that's okay. When someone, and I hear many people do that, spirit tells me to do this, spirit tells me to that. If there's a lack of knowledge, the temptation can be that ego is sneaking in. Who confirms for you that it is spirit? Sometimes those kind of things are escapism. And or in other words, running away from what they really need to do and justifying needs or behavior that may or may not serve their highest purpose. So I always promote that knowledge, but also working on self, the combination of that is what will help us to grow a little bit more spiritually, in my opinion.
Yeah.
And it's hard work. It's sometimes very embarrassing to myself or humbling that I thought, at some point in time, sometimes I think, I'm that's pretty good, Anneli. That's, that was a very nice thing of you to do or think. And then I catch myself thinking, it wasn't that great. You really had an agenda here and there, or you still, dealing occasionally with some imposter issues, that I would like to not have. But I recognize that sometimes, and I realize that, on one hand, yes, I'm quite, I think I've done a lot of work and I'm maybe somewhat more developed. On the other hand, I notice again that I really am at the bottom of learning, and that is really my truth. And the students in my classes know that. They know that where appropriate and fitting the module part, I share stories, I share experiences, and always acknowledge where I still need to grow and learn or what I need to correct. And I think that makes it very intimate and very real for everyone to be who they are and to really grow. Because we're not on this planet because we are perfect. We wouldn't be here if we would have had our act together. We are here to learn and to purify ourselves. I don't really know a better word, but it's purifying our souls. And one of the things we cover in the academy is I spend quite a bit of time to understand the difference between soul and spirit. If we understand that, we can utilize this knowledge differently in our own development.
Wow.
And I will not have the time to go through that here, but whenever I looked at it on the internet, there is massive confusion. People confuse soul and spirit often with the heart, and even worse, with the brain. And they're connected, but they're very distinctively different. And so if we know that, we can work with those parts of us and also the divine part in us, with humility and with knowledge and with grace. This is a gift for us, and it's not to be taken for granted. It's something that over a period of lifetime we start to get to know more or tune in more, and often we don't really even have the words, because every one of us, of our 8 billion somewhat people, has a different relationship to the divine, to God, or whatever you want to call a higher power or energy or creator or all that is. You probably know that in one religion they have over 99 names for God. We probably will never ever fully be able to comprehend this magnitude of love and goodness and order while we are in these physical bodies. But we can have greater access to it. And it's both. And I'm totally owning that. It's knowledge and experience. It is not one or the other. And oftentimes today in the spiritainment industry, people go into classes or seminars to make them feel good. And feeling good is nice, but it may not be the kind of thing that really advances us. We also need to look at our shadows, at our insecurities, at our helplessness sometimes, and questions. And questions are probably one of the most essential things that draw people to the Academy, because questions already imply that on some level we resonate with a potential type of knowledge that may be out there.
Wow.
And if someone is truly open-minded, they get massive value from what I'm have the privilege to share. But
I love that. Let me jump in, because the open-mindedness of this is hugely important. Oh, let's call it open-heartedness. Now, here's what I'm going to do. We're going to jump into a quick commercial here, listeners. We're going to come back. Anneli is going to share all the contact details with you, whatever we have out there. And then what we're going to do is we're going to jump into, what is open-heartedness? Open-mindedness. Is this an exaggeration of thought for us to really get in touch with, the metaphysical part of us, the spiritual part of us? We're going to jump into their listeners when we come back. This is hugely important. So give us a quick 90 seconds or so, and we'll be back in happy days.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. The station that makes you feel good.
Happy days, and we are back in, of course, and we were the amazing, the beautiful, the elegant listeners. If you could see this lady all dressed up, beautiful, with a wonderful Dr. Anneli Driessen. Yes, Driessen, come on down. We've got Driessen on the show. It's fantastic. And again, before we went into the commercial, we promised that on the way back in, we would give out some contact details. Now, I have Anneli at metaphysicalacademy.com, and I also have Anneli D at telos.net. Is that correct?
Yes, Anneli D as telos.net.
You say it much clearer than what I do, girl, that's for sure. But Anneli at metaphysicalacademy.com. Anneli is ANNELI. And are they LinkedIn? You on LinkedIn, girl? I'm sure you are.
Yes, I am. Yeah, and you can find me on LinkedIn also.
And there's not many Anneli Driessens, and it's Driessen is DRIESSEN. These details will go out again before the end of the show, listeners. But you will find Anneli. Now, Anneli, before we go into anything else, here's the thing. I met you on what is a deep business networking event. Now, a deep business. Now, I just said that, deep business, and I have a metaphysical, educational expert in front of me. How did that happen? It takes guts and courage to bring that metaphysical part into what is a pointy-edged business networking community.
Yes, yeah, interesting question. But, I never really saw a difference. I know when I wrote a little book 20 years ago, which I'm now going to republish, probably a little bit under a different title, I interviewed about 50 CEOs. At that time, I was a very active member in an organization called Sales and Marketing Executives International. Wow. And I interviewed people because I wanted to see what were their long-term success, because their members typically were givers and they had their companies for many, many years. And so what I found was that they all had they all had the same kind of criteria or principles they lived by. And it didn't matter what religion they belonged to or if they even belonged to a religion.
Yeah.
And so I just wrote them down. This was not a book that, that is like like academic type of quality. I just wrote it like from the heart. It was rediscovered recently by someone who encouraged me to bring it out again, because it was maybe a little bit too early of my time, because I felt that spirituality is everywhere, whether it's in business or home or, wherever.
Yeah.
And so when I found out about this network that you mentioned, which is connected to a global training and network called Ascentive, I found that one of their approach is so different from any other network that I encounter, which is very heart-centered. Yeah. And it's about being real, being also not just consumer, but being givers. And I just thought that was very refreshing. And so I just thought I'm going to learn, but also what I need to learn is the business aspect of my service. I know a lot about what I do. I don't know a lot about how I share it with the world and attract the people who would just get the greatest value from what I have. So I'm sort of a little bit of an oddball. I know that with regard to my business or service or whatever you want to call it. And I found, and I have been involved now almost 2 years with this remarkable group, that the kind of level of respect and genuine love to help each other and make connections and build really useful and genuine relationships is a business model, is a referral model that I was not really familiar with previously. Plus,
this Anneli is the Ascentive Pro, yeah? You're in the Ascentive Pro.
Yeah, the Ascentive is the umbrella company, the umbrella organization. And underneath that, they have a group that's called ECI, Entrepreneur Community International. And they have also different masterminds and different other groups that people can participate in. But, I just still think that not only do they have a very brilliant concept that is also practical, but also I found that the leaders are really interested in helping us. I have been in other networks where everyone just scratches their back and affirms each other, and it's all very nice. But I have not found that the leaders, they'll come out and say, listen, let's sit down. Where are you at? What can I do for you? How can I bring your business, your service to the next level? It was incredible.
It is. I mean, I'm part of the group. I'm only in the ECI, so I'm in the cheap seats. I'm not in the pro. I'm only in the cheap seats, that's for sure. But I want to come in and say, you spoke about, this as a business for you, because you have, of course, what is the Metaphysical Academy, which you're going to talk about a little later. But what also you are is you're an amazing. Now, I can't call you a coach because you're far deeper and far greater and far broader than a coach. The coach is too cheap of a word for you. You are someone that is very unique in what you do, and you only work with who I would consider to be very advanced think leaders of our business world economy or our business emotional economy. And I'm saying this because I have had the luxury to have time with you and conversations with you before this show, even though they were very different conversations. And I do know then, I'm going to put it out there, listeners, that this lady only works with the highest of minds and does and will work with the highest of minds in the business world. And I tell you, if you go into an opportunity to work with this lady in a sense of as an extremely advanced mentor, which is what Anneli is, you will go through a process that you will never, ever experience anywhere else because of the amount and the degree and level of philosophy that Anneli has in her heart and her mind. Now, why I say that there, Anneli, also is you have written thousands of pages of information, philosophies that are connected to, our universal bank of data that's probably been put there in the same way the dinosaurs put oil into our planet. This has put the oil into the universe of all the minds that all have lived. I'm a big believer, and science has proven that thoughts are physical. They are true.
Mm-hmm.
And that has to go somewhere, just like the dinosaurs did to create oil. The thoughts, I believe, are in this broadband of universe that we, if we choose to, and have the open-mindedness and the open-heartedness of purity, and I'll say purity there, that information is available. You have been tapping, working, aligning, and understanding, appreciating the level of that philosophy for how many years?
28 years, but really I've served as a therapist and marriage counselor previously. And so, I have accumulated a lot of different types of experiences and learnings and certificates and you name it. But I would like, with your permission, to make a comment on your very kind description of, the kind of people that I'm working with. The truth is that I work with anyone who wants to work with me. It doesn't matter how highly developed their intellect is, or how much money they make, or what kind of worldly experience they have. And I do that because, first of all, I'm always very curious about people of all kinds. But also I know that for God there is no difference. We are not in front of God more elevated just because we have a bigger bank account or we have a few academic degrees behind our names. And so I feel that when someone reaches out for help, I believe that there is a guidance that took place, and that is my privilege to be there. Now, what I'm also learning, though, is to be a little more discriminating, because in my history, I have had also a lot of people who like to take advantage of me, and I'm so easygoing that I, have not been able and not been very successful in setting boundaries. And that is something that I'm really have been learning more about since I'm with this group of ECI and Ascentive. And that is something that's really important to me also, because our time is limited, and we need to look at it. Certainly when you have reached a certain age, there is just, realistically, there are not that many years left to do important work.
Your girl, you are brutally modest. You are brutally modest. I'm going to say this. No, I will say this, because, we will not today get the amount of time that's needed on the show to give our audience the deep understanding of the expansive material that you have written over the years, from all ways of receiving. And the word philosopher is probably too small of a word to be able to fit into who you are, in a sense of it doesn't cover the range of who you are. And why I'm saying, and why I mentioned, the greatest of minds, because truthfully, your expansion is so much that, if for somebody to spend 6 days with you in your program, they have to be pretty advanced in being able to have the endurance to work with someone of your level. That's why I put it in that way. That doesn't take away what is, of course, the Anneli from the Metaphysical Academy that's there for everybody. And, when we can spread ourselves so thin, sometimes we can be see-through. That isn't a healthy place to be. Coming, I want to talk, can I just, before we go into the academy, let's think about the word philosophy. Because the word philosophy is kind of, it isn't really understood, do you believe? When we think about the word philosophy, it has, people often put intelligence to it. Almost they put academic intelligence to the word philosophy, but I don't want to put that there. I believe if you are a true philosopher, it's not about what you got taught at school. It's your realization of life.
It's an acquired wisdom about life. People can be great, have great wisdom without necessarily having any kind of formal education. And I've come across that in my life, that sometimes very simple people, or people we would call simple, have a depth of understanding about the reality of life here as a human being, and truth that many don't have who have the degrees. And so that's another reason why I like to work with people who have the kind of self-honesty and depth and practicality about life that I like to refer to as wisdom. And so
I love that.
that's interesting to me, that's attractive to me, and that's ignites my curiosity and interest in learning more about these individuals and perhaps being there for them if that is necessary for them.
Let's talk about the Metaphysical Academy. This is a huge part of yourself, and also the thousands of pages of material that you've written that I'm guessing here that is part of the Metaphysical Academy community and availability. Yeah. So tell us about why the Metaphysical Academy? What do you get from that, and or what is it that you want in it to be, or what is it?
Well, thank you for asking. It's first of all, it's a 5-year program, which is in itself a big commitment. So each year, it has 5 modules, 1 module a year. And we meet once a month on a Saturday, usually for 5 hours. They're very fast paced, so you don't fall asleep. Prior to that, I send study materials depending on the subject that we have, relating to the subject that I have, and they can prepare. And then we go through discussion, and there's more presentation material in between. Now, the sources of knowledge come from very different places. They are in part from philosophers, scientists, thinkers, and etc., innovators sometimes, famous writers, therapists, but they're also transmitted from the spiritual world, and it's a very large portion. I have translated much of the documentation from German language into English.
Wow.
And and so there is massive work involved, but I substantiate that information with the knowledge that we have here on this planet. So it is something that people say, yeah, it does make sense and it fits here, because truth is non-erring. Truth fits.
Wow, so true.
If there's any inconsistency, and I have very critical thinkers in the class, they would immediately say, oh, what about this? What about that? Now, thank goodness, because of the years of work, I have answers to most of those questions, but not to all of them. And if I don't, I have no problem saying, I really don't know.
What do I leave with, Anneli? What do I leave with at the end of the 5 years? A greater knowledge, a rounded person?
Knowledge, good, yeah. You have... It's so interesting because people get so many different things out of it. I was just listening to someone who said, you need to, have, you look at your avatar and you need to have your testimonials fitting that. And I understand that, but people get so many different things: improved relationships, a lot less fear, greater faith, and not necessarily religious faith, but inner confidence that all is good. They understand more about their life purpose and their history. They have an increased understanding of the divine and of the order that happens, that is existent in the entire universe. But I also know how chaotic this place is, and that it is confusing and hard, and that we are dealing sometimes with challenges in our wildest dreams we wouldn't have thought of. And so they know that whatever is now perceived in a different way than it was previously. So we deal with issues differently and much more successfully.
If I am someone that has no religion, can I still come in to
Absolutely.
What is the Metaphysical Academy?
Yeah. Every religion is welcome. Every religious representative is welcome, but only agnostics are welcome. Atheists will not fit, because we all have that one thing in common, and that we believe in a higher guidance, higher source, higher energy. So that would need to be there. But if we have someone who kind of is not sure, then but is still drawn to finding out, then it would be still a fit. So it's very, very inclusive. And those people who are too rigid on their dogmas will have the hardest time. If they're truly open to question some of the beliefs they held to be true, just to question it, then there is a possibility of progress. And if it's too hard, I always say, just don't worry about it now, put it on the shelf, revisit it later. So just don't chuck it.
I love it. I love it. I love, we need to be more open-minded and more open-hearted. Yeah. And on that note, I'm going to take us into our second commercial, listeners. It's been just amazing. And when we're going to come back there, we're going to call it, of course, Anneli's contact details again. And then we're going to dive in, how is this really going to blend in with the business world? What is the future of our business people? So we're going to do that. And I'm going to come back in a quick, of course, 90 seconds. Happy days.
UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good. UK Health Radio, the station that makes you feel good.
Oh, happy days. Oh, happy days. Yes, you're back in, of course, with me, Paul Rees, UK Health Radio, and all you amazing, amazing people out there that is listening to a fantastic, deep dive. We are deep diving today all through the show with, of course, the amazing, the beautiful, the elegant Dr. Anneli Driessen. Yes, it's a Driessen. She's dressed like a Driessen. It's absolutely beautiful. Anneli, again, thank you so much for bringing your beautiful mind on the show. Now, I want to touch on something we were kind of talking about while we were playing the commercial there in our ad time, as they say. So lock us on there, listeners, in the background. Do you know what I mean? But here's the thing. I just sort of pricked the subject of our inner intelligence and the importance of maintaining the survival of our inner intelligence that effectively is being superseded by AI and digital technology. We could say those things. Now, what you're doing here is maintaining I feel, the core values of your inner intelligence. Do you see this depleting over the next generations?
The possibility is there, and as much as we have this AI development, and in so many different ways, which is wonderful, it also can deaden us in a certain way, and we need to be very much aware of it. So when I work with CEOs, for example, their inner or their spiritual intelligence is something that is increasing. And we need to be aware that we use AI simply as a tool that can save us time, that can save us money, that will get us to a destination more quickly. But really, it does not replace our soul. Yeah. And if we have this development that more and more activities are going to be handled by robots, which is where we're heading. It's probably past our lifetime, where we may not be even able anymore to distinguish between who is real and who is a clone.
Yeah, it's so true.
We need to have systems in place, or structures in place, or knowledge in place. I don't quite know what the right word is, to help us stay in touch with who we are as a soul spirit entity. Wow. Trapped in our physical body, and we need to operate from there. So our assignment as leaders, or with all those people that I'm working with now who have major influence over others, they need to know who they are on a deeper spirit level, so that their level of participation, their level of integrity, their operating modalities as leaders is driven by their core, their core spirit. And that is something that is an evolution within ourselves, which is something that the Academy assists people to advance more quickly. Yeah. However, we are not doing the work. I cannot do your work. You have to do it. I provide just a beautiful framework of knowledge and support. And that's why we never record, by the way, our classes. Not even for people who are part of the class. They can make it up a year later when we do it again, complimentary, or they can have an individual session for which they pay, of course, individually. But I do not record it. It is so private, so intimate, so that everyone can also share whatever is necessary for them to move forward.
I
And
love that because it expands on our emotional memory. It means that we
yeah,
have to emotionally remember. And
yeah.
whilst I need to remember, let me do this, listeners, as promised. Let me throw you out Anneli's contact details again. So it's Anneli at metaphysicalacademy.com. And of course, Anneli D at tellus.net. Is that correct?
Yes. Best is to just contact me. So Anneli at metaphysical.academy.com. And I know
Perfect.
it's really related to the academy because I have a few other email addresses for other types of services.
And of course, you can find Anneli on LinkedIn. And Driessen is Driessen. All these details will go out. The Anneli Metaphysical LinkedIn connection will be out with the show on their listeners. So you can grab that anyway. And I want to, we have a couple of minutes left here, but I want to talk about, let's think about the business world now. I love where we took this, which is your inner intelligence. Some want to call it soul. Some can call it their core. Some can call it their heart. Some say, yeah, that's my inner intelligence. But whatever it is, it's that part of you that is the invisible part, but is the emotional part of you, whatever it may be. But moving forward, business or leaders, if we look at ours, Lily Tierney, the Alan Bell, yourself, and all the people that are in our network event, very spiritual people. Do you see that leaders are becoming deeper human beings?
Well, the leadership of this group is so interesting that I noticed very quickly that they're very spiritually driven. However, it's not mentioned. In order to be spiritual, we don't need to talk about it. We need to be it. And the level of love that they show and non-judgmentalness for everyone who's there, it's absolutely remarkable. I'm so moved and touched by when I'm watching them that I think, wow, these people are on the deepest level spiritual that I found in my life, serving others. And it's beautiful because you don't need to do any fluff about it. You don't need to talk about it. You don't need to, vibrate in light and all that. You just do.
Do you see this quality of leadership that we're experiencing now being the future of what business leadership is? Where you are more in tune. It's
essential. I don't think we can survive as a species the way we are operating and where we're heading without that spiritual core and that spiritual knowledge and spiritual ownership, because it's going to go too crazy. It's going to be so crazy. And we know from what's happening in the world right now and the misleading of the media, of the mainstream media, that people are not thinking anymore, they're following. And so it's essential for leaders to be an example of critical thinking, of intellectual humility, of soul humility, that they model that they encourage their folks, their people, their boards members, or wherever they're dealing with, their families, to also stay really grounded and focused on who they really are. And that is a bigger mission and vision I have for the Academy. And I do hope that, and it may happen after I'm gone, that we have this kind of service through the Metaphysical Academy worldwide in all English-speaking countries represented. Wow. So that's my vision. Yeah. And I just have faith that something will happen to make that happen.
Wow, Anneli, that is such a beautiful statement you just made there. It was very powerful, and I think what you say is very moving, but comes very easy from yourself in a sense of, I don't think you were realizing how powerful those words are. It was just profound what you just said there. And, think about this, listeners. Think about what Anneli is presenting you today. Think about, yourself, not just as a biological thing walking around, but think about that spiritual part of you, that inner part of you, that part that really thrives on the desire of intelligence, emotional intelligence, the philosophy of what we could say is your life, you as a person. And this is where Anneli is. It's just beautiful, girl. It really is.
Well,
thank you.
Very kind.
No, you know, here we go. Anneli at metaphysicalacademy.com. Get there. It's absolutely amazing. Thank you so much, Anneli, for an absolutely beautiful deep dive. A beautiful spiritual deep dive, a beautiful inner knowing deep dive, a beautiful philosophizing deep dive, a beautiful metaphysical deep dive. Call it whatever we want. But here's the thing. Everybody will resonate with it because it's a universal thing.
Thank you so much for having me on the show. But these events like this will allow me to share the message and hopefully to attract people who say, I want to do this, I want to check this out. And anyone who listens to, if you want to meet me for a purposeful meeting, just contact me through LinkedIn or send me an email and we set up a virtual meeting and see if this indeed is a fit for you. I want to make sure that it works for both of us, for all of us, if you want to explore more about this extraordinary program that I have.
Beautiful, happy days, and we're going to call it there. We have absolutely run out of time. It's been an amazing show. Anneli, I love you to bits. Thank you for stretching all the way from Canada to here to Wales. It's been amazing. It really have. Fantastic. Technology is good on times. And listeners, until this time next week, enjoy the vibration of who you are. Enjoy the energy of who you enjoy the lightness. Enjoy just you. Hugely important. And I'll catch you, of course, again on the airwaves this time next week. We're going to say bye for now and boom!
Emotion.